So this strategy or this problem string is called partial quotients. If we know the vocabulary of our division, we know that the quotient is, sorry about that, the quotient is our answer. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be splitting apart our dividend to give us partial quotients that we then add together to make our lives easier. So what is some knowledge that you're going to need to come into this with? You need to be able to take apart numbers. What do I mean by that? Well, you need to know that 375 can be written as 360 plus 15. It can be written as 305 plus 70. The other thing that you need to understand is the associative property. I'm going to double check that so that I didn't say the wrong thing. Hold on. Sometimes I mess up on the property names, and that's not a good thing. I was wrong. It's a distributive property, which makes more sense. Distributive. Distributive. Oh boy. All right. This has been a disaster of a video so far. The distributive property, which tells us that it's both in multiplications and addition. It's in all good things. What this is saying that if I have let's see. Why don't we do something like this? 25 divided by 5. We know that that equals 5, right? But what this is saying is that I can also look at this like 20 divided by 5 plus 5, divided by 5. So I can take 25 and split it into 20 and 5 and divide each one of those by 5, and that's going to give me the same answer, right? So 20 divided by 5 is 4, 5 divided by 5 is 1, 4 plus 1 is 5. So that's called the distributive property. So you need to know those two things. You need to be able to split numbers apart, take them apart, and you need to be able to distribute and understand what that means. Okay, so let's look to see what we can do with partial quotients and our life as a divider of numbers. So if we look at a problem like 390 divided by 6, well, right off the bat, looking at that 6, I don't know, but thinking partial quotients, what are some partial dividends, divisors that we can use? How can I make this a little bit more manageable? Well, I can make 390, I can turn that into 360 and 30, okay? So I can change this to 360 divided by 6 plus 30 divided by 6. And how does that help me? Well, I should be able to see this combination, because I know 6 times 6 is 36, so that should be 6 times 60. So that's going to give me 60. 30 divided by 6 is 5. So because of the distributive property and because of breaking everything down, 390 divided by 6 is 65. Okay, again, I used partials. These are my partial quotients, and then I added them together to get my whole quotient. I could have split this down. You can do this, you could take apart, you could do 30, 30, 30, 30. I mean, it would take too long, but you could do that. All right, what about something like 270? I'm using bigger paper. Yeah. Should we go up a little bit? That goes here. What about something like 270 divided by 15? We can do this with addition. We can also do it with subtraction. Okay. So something that you could see this idea of 300 and minusing 30 or subtracting 30. So I can change this into 300 divided by 15 subtract 30 divided by 15. right? Because 300 minus 30 is 270. So how does that help us? Well, 300 divided by 15, I should know 30 divided by 15 is 2. So 300 divided by 15 is going to be 20. And I'm going to subtract 30 divided by 15, which is 2. And so that's going to make my answer 18. Again, splitting apart numbers. Splitting them apart, putting them back together, thinking about what my divisor is, multiplying. One thing that you might want to do to practice this is also do some ratios when it comes to 15 or any number that you start with. Because if you were to kind of look at this problem and start listing out some stuff that you know about 15, you're like, well, I know 10's 150, I know 20's 300, I know 5 is 75. So seeing that 20 might go, oh, 300, that's close to here, and oh, double is 30. Okay, so if you're not comfortable with that, if you're not comfortable with looking at a number and kind of separating it, do this. Okay, list out some ratios real quick about what you know about the number 15. Okay, let's see what else we have in store. Are you ready? What about here? Here, I'll even leave this up here for you to look at. What about here? I'll change color. 330 divided by 15. Okay, pause it. See if you can do this one. Pause it. Remember, look over here too. Think about this. Okay, we're back. So if I split this up, what did you split it up to? Hopefully you split it up to 30 divided by 15, and you added 30 divided by 15. And what does that give us? That gives us 20 plus 2, which is 22. So again, you maybe saw that over here, 30 and 20 plus 2. All right. Last one. What about 161 divided by 7? Oops. So again, try this one out. Pause the thing, try it out, and then I'll talk about it. All right, so there's a few things that we can do here. We can see that 161 divided by 7. If I wanted to make my list like I suggested that you do, let's do it under Mr. Light's head. What do I know about 7? I know double of 7 is 14. I know times 10 is 70. I know times 5 is 35. I know 20 is 140. Okay, I know by 3 is 21. I know a bunch of stuff. Okay. Well, do you see any numbers over here that might help us with this one? I certainly do. I see 140 plus 21. Oops, I do that a lot. Sorry about that. So I have 140 divided by 7 plus 21 divided by 7. That's 161 divided by 7. Okay, why does this help us? Well, we know 140 divided by 7 is 20. We know that 21 divided by 7 is 3. So that makes 161 divided by 7 equals 23. You could have also done this way. We could have said 70 divided by 7 plus 70 divided by 7 plus 21 divided by 7. And that could give us 10 plus 10 plus 3. And that equals 23 as well. So what we do, that was taking 140 and breaking it into 70 and 70. So it's knowing your number, knowing the factors, knowing the multiples, doing all this stuff, and really breaking down your dividends into easier dividends that go with your divisor, so that you can get partial products that you can add together, partial quotients, sorry about that, so you can get partial quotients that you can add together to get your final answer. You can ask questions on the video, on the, I should put a form, I'll put a form in the website. So if there's something you don't understand about this, you're like, I don't get it. Fine. But what don't you get? Think about it. All right, bye.